On the 16th of May 2011, a video was posted on a new channel owned by a small company known as FX Home. FX Home created software for chroma keying and compositing, but on this day, they announced a new form of software. By the footage you are seeing, you probably can guess what Hitfilm was. It was basically a Premiere Pro clone, but not just that, it was also an After Effects clone. It was marketed at indie filmmakers and VFX fans, also known as nerds, which I totally am not. But there was a slight difference from Hitfilm and the two Adobe products. Adobe at the time was working on the Creative Cloud, which introduced monthly subscriptions to their software. In the past, you could buy the Adobe Creative Suite for a one-time fee and then own all of the software. But Adobe was against that since a subscription service is more affordable, and that they would never raise the price to $100 a month. Which, I mean, technically not, I guess. Meanwhile, Hitfilm was only being sold as a perpetual software, which was still the norm at this time, at the price of $399, which, calculating inflation, was $574, which is expensive. But calculating the price of Adobe Creative Cloud per year, we can see that it's $140, and that's per year. Now, Hitfilm was pretty good for a software made by a small company. It had support for 3D tracking and 3D model importing, so gradually, Hitfilm was heard by more and more people who wanted to learn VFX because Adobe is Adobe, and Sony Vegas is very fast. The official channel had a lot of tutorials on it for simple VFX, like for example how to track things and how to use 3D in Hitfilm. And is that Corder Crew and Freddy Wong? What the Hitfilm then released the second version of their software with better 3D support and also Mocha support. Mocha, if you don't know, is a VFX software for tracking because no one likes tracking by hand. It also gained an ability to work with Sony Vegas files. You could, for example, edit a video in Vegas, and then if you wanted to add VFX, you could just open it in Hitfilm and edit it, and it would be automatically changed. So basically the dynamic link feature of Premiere and After Effects. Hitfilm was doing well and slowly building a community on their forums. But there's a little thing I need to mention. Hitfilm 2 actually had two versions, Express and Ultimate. Express was cheaper at $149 and Ultimate was more expensive. Ultimate was the best version if you really wanted to have crazy VFX like 3D importing and particle effects. They were also still selling their other products like Movie Studio Platinum, which has the best cover ever, but they were mainly focusing on Hitfilm at this time. For example, they launched a Kickstarter for Hitfilm on the Mac. It hit its goal, and it also had the best merch ever. Why did I have to be 4 at the time? No! And then, at the end of November 2014, Hitfilm 3 would arrive, and it would be the one to make Hitfilm to what it was. Hitfilm 3 had a new modern looking interface, which in my opinion is better than the original one. But there was a very, very large difference, and that was Hitfilm 3 Express. Remember when I said that there were two versions, Express and Ultimate, a few seconds ago? Well, FX Home decided to remove the price from Express and make it free. That's right, free! Now some features were locked behind a paywall, and you could only export to YouTube quality. But who cares? It's free! So isn't that wonderful? And slowly and surely it got more and more users, because firstly it was more beginner friendly and free, so of course people would want to use it. And the Hitfilm community was very beginner friendly. So more time went on and more upgrades happened to the software. Like for example a text tool, which let me tell you, for some reason you had to make composite shots to add text into videos. Or you had to go to effects, go to generate, drag it onto an invisible plane, and then do text that way. What? With the changing times, they also introduced the ability for you to buy different features to add in the free version of the software. So for example, and no, I don't know why the Wayback Machine ruined the design of this page, you could buy a specific pack filled with specific features or specific plugins like Mocha that included 3D tracking, or you could buy better formats to export, to which is a pretty dumb thing to paywall, but it all seemed smooth sailing, and the channel was also doing well. So many tutorials and so many users of the software. But then, in 2021, something happened to Hitfilm. On July 14th, the CEO, Joshua Davies, would post to the FX Home channel a video that is now unlisted, called FX Home Joins the Artless Family. But I think this is a great time to switch to a different section of the video. A section where I interviewed former people from the company. Yes, this is the first time I actually did research for a video. Yay. So let me introduce the former members I interviewed. Jeffrey Valbar is recognizable to most Hitfilm users, as he made a lot of tutorials about Hitfilm. Simon K. Jones is one of the original members of FX Home, joining the team in 2002, and he actually appears in the first ever Hitfilm video. And he also made a lot of tutorials back in the day. Why was Hitfilm created? This was in the very early days of digital video and being able to do any of this stuff on home PCs. The previous program, Vision Lab, had some of the ingredients as Hitfilm, but was built on obsolete tech and needed a complete refresh. We were in a position to expand the team, and home computers had reached a point where they were far more capable than they had been even a couple of years earlier. The aim was to provide a powerful editor and layer compositor that was easy to use and crucially affordable. Adobe was going after the professional market, but we wanted to help students and indie filmmakers who were on a shoestring budgets. How was your time at FX Home? It was really excellent. I loved Norwich. The FX Home team made me feel super welcome, and I had a lot of fun with the job for 4 years. I became a UK citizen before moving away and still return to visit Norwich occasionally. I was there for 14 years somehow. For some context, when I joined in 2002, YouTube didn't launch until 2004, and it wasn't really any good until maybe 2007. The iPhone wasn't created until 2007. Twitter appeared in 2006, HD video didn't exist, and nobody was even thinking about 4K. So we were operating in a pre-social, pre-smartphone era. Doing anything with digital video was incredibly difficult. It was the Wild West, with people having to host tiny postage-stamp resolution videos on their own servers. But it was exciting times, and it felt like the whole industry was about to pivot. The era nurtured a generation of highly skilled filmmakers, simply because everything was so hard. If you could handle the tech in the early 2000s, you were going places. Being in the middle of that and seeing people like Sam and Nico from Corridor Digital, Chris Cohen become a top-tier stunt coordinator, Matt Plummer go work at Frame Store on tons of huge movies. Very satisfying stuff. What were the opinions of the former team members to the buyout? I was neutral. Reactions to the news from inside the company seemed to be mostly positive, or those outside, from the users, were more negative because of their past experiences with other company acquisitions. Since this was my first time going through such a shift, I went into it with a let's see what happens attitude. I was long gone by then. I left the company in 2016, although I did pop back up a couple of times to do tutorial videos in a freelance capacity. So I didn't really have an opinion on the sale, as I wasn't directly involved in the company or the community by that point. To be honest, I'm amazed it took so long for the company to be bought. That's pretty unusual. Most tech startups accelerate as fast as possible and sell early. Within a couple of years, we should be grateful that we got a couple of decades of independent FX Home / Hitfilm. So, Artless. What the fuck is Artless? Well, if you have been seeing their terrible AI ads, you would think they're a company like Sora, an app that makes AI slop. But actually, Artless is more similar to Epidemic Sounds, because it gives you music you can use for your TikToks or your YouTube channel. But these days, they care more about AI than the human-created stuff. I mean, look at the top part of their website. You can really see how much they care about human creatives. Heck, my personal opinion, I think that most of these songs are AI generated, but I'm not gonna play them because I don't pay for Artless. I don't think that's allowed. Well, the community had mixed feelings when Artless bought the company. Some were afraid that Hitfilm would go to a subscription model, which would be bonkers since that's the entire reason people use Hitfilm, is because A, it's good, and B, you only have to buy it once. From the forum side, most people were excited, but there were some people who were skeptical. Joshua Davies was like, hey, they like the software and they share a vision with us. And he also spoke with some of the moderators of the FX Home forums. So it's all good, right? Right? No! Well, of course not. Firstly, they completely changed the logo. What is this? This might seem nitpicky, but it's just bland. The old logo was simple. Why is it a play button now? Guess that's an upgrade. You remember Hitfilm Express, the version of Hitfilm that was a bad one but still good? Well, not anymore. It was removed to bring way into the new Hitfilm app. Also, previous effects you bought? Well, fuck you, can't use them in this new version. You have to upgrade. Please upgrade, since this is a completely new version. This is definitely not built off of the old version. Oh, you want the old version? Well, don't you want to upgrade? Go automatically download the new one. Want better resolutions? You gotta upgrade. And another upgrade is subscriptions. Yes, subscription. Or an upgrade. Upgrades, people, upgrade. The forums where you can talk with the community and provide tutorials and share tips. Well, let's upgrade it by shutting it down. Our YouTube channel. Should we make more videos focused on VFX, our whole company brand? Because, you know, our company names is FX Home, FX for FX. Nah, let's upgrade to AI. Guys, upgrade to my Ko-Fi. Upgrade by focusing on video editing and not compositing. Upgrade your company by advertising AI. Though the funniest thing about this situation was seeing Hitfilm University post a video called FX Home plus Artlist where he was pretty positive about the acquisition. And then 2 years later he posts Now, let me be a little bit of a devil's advocate and say that the prices of the subscriptions were lower than Premiere and After Effects combined. But still, it's such a backstabbing. Everyone liked the Hitfilm due to the single pay license. Did you see any issues with where Hitfilm was going after the acquisition? The company did shift the overall focus so that we were making less VFX related content and more tutorials tailored to general video editing. I understood the reasoning for it, to broaden our audience, but since my main area of interest was VFX, I did become less interested in the content we were making as time went on. There were several factors contributing to the reduced focus of Hitfilm's VFX side. 1. The rise of short-form videos, an example, TikTok, meant that the videos needed to be coming out faster with less time spent in post-production. Increased capability of phone tech filters gave users professional results without ever needing a PC to edit. A desire to increase the size of Artlist's user base. There are many more people simply editing videos than there are specifically wanting to create VFX. All of these things considered, plus many more internal discussions, data from users, studies/surveys, future projections, etc., led to the overall shift of resources to favor general video editing. Hitfilm was a desktop program trying to survive in a world that was becoming increasingly mobile-centric. This is all just a bump in the road, right? It's all gonna be good, right? Hitfilm can still make it, right? How many times has a small company being bought by a big company turned out to be a good thing for the existing customers? 2024, around December, the Hitfilm community was given news that Hitfilm would be shut down. That's right, shut down. So we only had around 3 years of Artlist's version of Hitfilm. Now, this was obvious to most people since Artlist did not seem to care about the majority of users, because Hitfilm, let's be honest, is more of a VFX tool than a normal video editor. And Artlist's lack of communication with the community by shutting down the forum, it was pretty obvious. From my personal perspective, Artlist wanted to make a Premiere Pro clone, not realizing we have enough alternatives of Premiere Pro. The entire draw of Hitfilm was the fact that it was the VFX software for hobbyists and the enjoyers of VFX. It was software that seemed to actually care about the art of visual effects. So, yeah, Artlist is allegedly to blame for all of this. Wait, hold up, someone is calling me.
It's you! It's you! How could you, man? How could you?
Now, I found this out due to a Hitfilm University video, so thank him in the comments. OpenGL is a render library, so it controls what you see. If you know what graphics programming or to use Blender, you probably know what it is. At the time Hitfilm was being created in 2010 to 2011, OpenGL was the standard and also the most supported rendering engine. Now, it's not like OpenGL is deprecated or something, not yet, but the last stable version was released in 2017. Okay, so what? It's a bit old. I mean, I have an iPhone from that time. I can still use it. Well, they were using OpenGL 4.1 from 2010. So even at that time, it is as old as the modern version of OpenGL this year. But why the hell would they use such an old version? Well, it's Apple. Yeah, that Mac Kickstarter wasn't added as filler, it was foreshadowing. But in 2010, it was deprecated by Apple, so they don't support it anymore. Now, this is a bad situation, because this would mean they would have to rewrite everything that involves OpenGL. That includes the preview window, the 3D support, and the particle effects. Now, allegedly, artists actually plan to do that by maybe remaking it with modern new Vulkan graphics API, which is now the standard, but then why did it not happen? No one knows for sure, but from what my personal belief is and the belief of some of the Hitfilm users, that because of the generative AI bubble, artists was like, shit, that's a large market, we gotta put all of our attention on that, and they killed this Hitfilm 2.0 project they were working on. Let me play a part of the video Hitfilm University made.
Hitfilm is not alone in this. The video compositing and NLE workspace is highly competitive, and things are going to continue to change even more over the next couple of years. Avid, a venerable program dating back to the 1990s, which until a few years ago was the most used editor in Hollywood. So many feature films and TV shows were cut on Avid. Avid may go away in 2025. It's been sold to a venture capital group that seems to be more interested in liquidating the technology than supporting the software. Vegas Pro. Vegas Pro has been my editor of choice since version 1. And the company that owns it, Magix, has discontinued all their product lines other than Vegas, SoundForge, and Acid. And I've heard that even those suites are up for sale. Vegas is in trouble. Even Blender, that free 3D program that just helped Godzilla Minus One win an Oscar award in 2024. The Blender Foundation is in financial trouble because it's free software and nobody gives them money. Blender is in danger of going away. And with the generative AI revolution, tools that are not using generative AI are falling behind. Generative AI is expensive. It requires licensing fees from companies like OpenAI, Stability AI, etc. You're going to spend render credits to use the generative AI. It ends up that the generative AI companies are going to make all the money. But the traditional editing companies, a lot of them are in trouble. It's not that Artlist bought FX Home to ruin Hitfilm. It's that Hitfilm was based on an aging, soon-to-be obsolete software core that would have to be a complete rewrite to get around. Artlist's efforts in that just didn't pan out the way they hoped.
Hitfilm and the community no longer exist, so in that regard the impact of the buyout is pretty clear, but it's never quite that simple. There's tech debt and financial pressures, and the global economic situation has been difficult for years. It's all very well wishing that Hitfilm could still be around and have magically remained fully independent, but if the numbers don't add up, they don't add up. We live in a hyper-capitalist civilization, so these things happen. The loss of the community affected me more. That was a pretty remarkable cultural asset, both in its own right and in the talent that it spawned, directly or indirectly. If you look at blockbuster filmmaking and the indie scene on YouTube, the FX Home community's fingerprints are everywhere. While researching on this video, I found a software called Autograph by Left Angle, which was another After Effects alternative, which seemed promising. This year on June 5th, Maxon bought the company and the product was shut down. There's a sense of disappointment I felt when I heard this. I have never used Autograph before, and now I can't ever know since the downloads are gone and you can't pay for the software anymore. You don't even know anything about it other than it seemed to be exactly like After Effects. There is a large move to make software be rentware, where paying for a software doesn't mean you own it. Plus, the lack of archiving support, i.e. the ability to download and use old versions of the software, makes it hard to be positive in these modern times. I skimmed a small article by Joan Westenberg, where she basically says what most people see as the issue with the subscription-based software model. Now, companies like Adobe solely offer subscriptions, monthly fees, and essentially renting in perpetuity. We no longer own our software, we pay a licensing fee. This gives us access to regular updates, but it also means that sort of the Macaulay hangs over creatives. Miss a payment, lose access. The freedom of creation I once relished has been supplanted by nagging financial anxiety. I miss the days when the tools felt like mine, not someone else's borrowed goods. And when I didn't open up a tool and wonder how much longer I'd be able to keep using it. By making most creative software be subscription based, it's terrible for the artist. You don't rent a paintbrush and oil paints if you want to make a painting, you buy it and use it as much as you like. While reading the answers that Simon sent to my questions, one stood out to me because it didn't seem to fit in. The question was how his time at the FX home was during 2010, up to when he left, and he wrote a small example of how the forums were during that time. To take a specific example which had nothing to do with visual effects, I remember during the 2012 US elections, there ended up being a 50-plus page discussion about the candidates, voting, politics, culture. It was full of intelligent comments, tolerance, genuine interest from across the political spectrum of people wanting to learn from each other. And bear in mind, we had a lot of teenagers and young adults, all engaged and paying attention. What an amazing thing. Now, firstly, I didn't get what he meant by this, but I think I do now. The rise of companies treating the internet as business has made it more negative. They all care about the ads and the clickbait titles. We tend to rush out our responses to stuff. We don't research because with how the internet is nowadays, it keeps on moving. It keeps pumping on. The train is never going to stop. Everyone wants to get on the new trend, being either NFTs, crypto coins, AI generated slop. I mean, look at artists with all of their AI products. The shutdown of Hitfilm shows a bigger issue, that being companies focusing more on the return of investments, ROI, rather than, I don't know, listening to the community and speaking with them. But there is still software that does care about its community and it's being run by people who actually care. Around the time that I was working on this video, the new version of Affinity came out. Affinity is the best alternative to Photoshop and Illustrator, and was also a perpetual license. Because now it's free. Actually free. The amount of joy I have seen from the creative community is astonishing. Creatives love it when products actually care about what they want, when the software listens to the community, and why shouldn't they? Affinity doesn't hold your projects at gunpoint because you don't pay at the correct time. Just because people pay for subscriptions doesn't mean they actually like paying for it. Affinity is going against the trends of subscription software. Sometimes I wonder what Hitfilm could have been had it been bought by a different company and had enough time to be able to be rebuilt in a different graphics API. There is a lack of After Effects alternatives. Premiere Pro, sure, I mean there are like millions of them, but After Effects is the odd one out because most people care about After Effects on the motion effects side rather than the compositing side. Hitfilm was a good editor. It could make beautiful videos. I mean, you have been watching a video edited in Hitfilm. That's a plot twist for this video. That's the one plot twist in this video. Hopefully there will be software as good as Hitfilm. The Affinity upgrade has given me hope that we will one day get software that respects its users. Who knows, maybe an After Effects alternative is around the corner. And if it is, well, I sure as hell will be there to support it. I want to thank Javert and Simon for taking their time and answering my questions. They were really kind and respectful. If you want to check out what they do, follow these links. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you liked it and go in the comments if you want to talk about Hitfilm. Let me thank Hitfilm users Discord server. It's a really good Discord server and the people there are very kind. They help point me in the right direction. Yeah. I hope you guys liked it. But now I must go find another video idea. I know! Hitman's third best level! That will upgrade this channel!